All right, today we're going to dive into this incredible story. It connects a national sports hero, a philosophy that tries to unite science and religion, and get this, a decades-long mission to completely redefine who owns an idea. Believe me, it's a journey you're not going to want to miss. Okay, so I want you to picture this. A celebrated athlete. We're talking the best volleyball player in all of Asia. But here's the thing. He wasn't just a master of one sport. No way. This guy was a three-time national decathlon champion, and he set a national record in the javelin throw. I mean, a true national hero, right? Now hold that image in your head and imagine this same man struggled his entire life just to make ends meet. We're talking unable to even buy a new bicycle. A stark contrast, to say the least. So this is the story of the late Professor Harnek Singh. And that paradox, that huge gap between his fame and his fortune, well, that's the key to unlocking a much, much bigger idea. I mean, just look at this list of achievements. It's absolutely staggering. A champion in so many different fields. But there was this recurring theme in his life, a real lack of recognition. Get this, he even developed a whole new style for the high jump, only to find out later that someone else had already patented it. Can you imagine? And that single experience, it planted a seed that would basically define the rest of his life. In that contrast between the public glory and the private struggle it's really striking. For years, he was getting less than half of the pension he was owed. It forced his family to run a dairy farm for 36 years just to survive. That kind of hardship, well, that became the powerful fuel for the incredible intellectual journey that came next. So, the big question is, how does a life like that lead to a whole new philosophy? Well, let's dive into the birth of what he called philselfology. You see, his life's work wasn't really about sports in the end. It all built up to this huge project called philselfology, and the goal was massive, trying to build a bridge between the world of science and the world of religion. So how do you do that? What's the bridge? He believed it was sound. The fundamental vibrations that make up everything, from physical matter to spiritual chants. And this quote right here, wow, it really puts the sheer scale of this into perspective. When he took this idea to the University of Adelaide, they basically told him, look, this isn't a weekend project. They said it would take something like 15 research books and 25 to 30 years of work, a multi-decade quest. And you know what? That's exactly what it turned into. Okay, but think about it. How do you take a huge abstract idea like that and actually make it practical? How do you turn a theory about the entire universe into something people can actually use? Well, the answer was to build a real, tangible framework. They called it the Gurmukhi metric system. Its foundation, the sacred Gurmukhi script, going all the way back to the 35 original letters from around 1476. From that ancient base, the system connects the science of sound, how vibrations create physical patterns, which is a field called cymatics, with tradition. The end goal was nothing short of a universal system to understand the very structure of language and knowledge itself. So now, armed with this incredible system, the family set out on a mission. And it was a mission to solve the exact problem that had plagued Professor Singh his entire life: getting credit for your ideas, for your intellectual work. And let me tell you, this was not an overnight thing. Just look at this timeline. It shows a persistent, decades-long struggle. I mean, the core ideas were there back in the mid-90s, but they just didn't have the money to submit them. It was a huge barrier. It actually took almost 20 years before they could finally get their proposals in front of global bodies like the World Intellectual Property Organization. So what was their big idea? At the very heart of it all is this proposal for a totally new kind of intellectual property. They call it Community Unit-Unitary IP. And the contrast is just so clear. Traditional IP, it's all about individuals and corporations, it's exclusive. But this new system, it's designed to protect knowledge that's passed down through generations, the shared wisdom of artisans, of families, of entire cultures. So why does this matter so much? Well, they're framing their mission as a test case, really, for protecting the heritage of minority and artisan communities all over the world. They use the Sikh community, which is just 1.7% of India's population, as this perfect example. Their argument is that this kind of traditional knowledge is incredibly vulnerable, and it needs a new kind of protection that the system we have now, it just doesn't provide. And all of this leads to their grand vision, which, let me tell you, goes way beyond just one family or one ancient script. I mean, this really gives you a sense of the mind-blowing scope of their vision. We're talking about a system that aims to connect, well, pretty much everything. They're linking the Gurmukhi script to other ancient languages like Aramaic and Phoenician. They're tracing historical family trees from India all the way to the Tarquin kings of ancient Rome. And they're even proposing this whole framework as a possible solution for some of the biggest crises we face today. It's a quest to fundamentally rewrite the entire story of who owns our shared knowledge. And in the end, it all boils down to this one single, really provocative question. If knowledge is built piece by piece over generations, who truly owns an idea? It's a question that challenges the very foundation of how we value creativity. It asks all of us to look beyond the single inventor and see the deep flowing river of community knowledge that's been passed down for centuries.